listening to Freshly Forever, a podcast that gives you fascinating insights week after week. Here's your host, Vi Kumar.
We are here today with our guest, Lisa Zeeveld, popularly known as LZ. She is the COO and CFO of one of the largest remote staffing companies in the US. She's a Tedx speaker. Lisa loves gardening, traveling, and in general, believes in sprinkling goodness all around her. Welcome, Lisa, to the show, and I am so excited to have you here with me today.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm super excited.
Awesome. We all know you're a very successful business executive now. However, something that transpired when you were very young kind of set the stage for what you are today. Why don't we start there? I know you have a story to share.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, for me, I grew up in an environment with a lot of adversity. So I did not grow up with that quintessential kind of silver spoon. I grew up very poor, did not have the luxury of an education. My parents did the very best. They're awesome parents. I love them greatly, but they also did not have the most resources for their upbringing as well. And so when you look at the statistics, everything was kind of stacked against me. That I really wouldn't accomplish much in life. I'd have a good mediocre life, but probably not ever reach the pinnacle of success. But my mom happened to work for a luxury men's clothing store. She was a part-time bookkeeper for them. And I would get to go. I'm an only child. And so there's some luxuries that come with being only a child. You kind of tag along, with your parents wherever they go. And I learned early off how to have good manners and be quiet and all those things. And so I would get to go to work with her. And really started to see this whole other environment and this whole other world where people didn't live like we did. They talked about second homes and luxury vacations. My vacations were going to visit family members, who lived a couple hours away. And so it really gave me a perspective that there was a possibility for more, and started to execute something in me that I knew that I was going to drive towards.
Wonderful. I know you also dreamt of something at that age when you were 8. Can you tell the listeners what that is? I think that's going to make it very interesting for people to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so silly, but along with those cashmere suits and silk and fancy shoes, the owner of this luxury store had an emerald green Jaguar XJ6. And the luxury store was actually in a local mall. And so, as you can imagine, when my mom would park and we would walk in, and his car was always right there at the front. And I just remembered being enamored by this car. And I thought, this is not the kind of car we were driving. We were driving a used car, and there was times it would break down on the side of the road, and we'd have to figure out what to do. And I just wow. Not only these people dress really nice and have this incredible life, but they have this beautiful car. And for some reason, that just resonated with me. And that became really my motivation, one of my motivations to really look for success and push towards that.
Oh, who wouldn't want a Jaguar? I don't blame you there at all. So for someone to be successful in whatever they do or envision, is a growth mindset enough?
I don't think so. I've spent a lot of time, reflecting on how I got here because, people find it fascinating. And is it enough to have a growth mindset? But I think sometimes where growth mindset stops is where people think, I want this, right? I want that Jaguar. I want to have a new job. I want to have a new home. I'm going to push forward to the next thing. But something deep down inside of them, they actually don't believe it's possible. And I think that's where growth mindset ends, and really where what I talk about is self-efficacy begins.
So how significant is self-efficacy? When do you think you realized you needed to have that to succeed?
Yeah, of course, at 8, I did not have self-efficacy as a word. But I think I was surrounded by people who told me anything was possible. And I think that's the key. If you look back at my trajectory, no, I didn't have a lot, but I was surrounded by people who loved me and who believed in me and gave me the courage to go for more. So there was never a point where I stopped and thought, that car's never going to be mine. Nobody who lives in a trailer park and whose mom works part-time and the car breaks down on the side of the road will ever have a Jaguar. So I'm not going to go for it. And so I think it was one of those things that I just always had that belief. And as with any skill set, whether it's a growth mindset or self-efficacy, it's something you have to work on over time. So during a setback, I had to stop and think, wait a second, I was actually created for more. I deserve more. And I'm not going to let anybody stand in my way because I actually think I can have that car and I think I can have the life that I wanted. So really it started out from an early age, but as I matured, I really learned how to refine my belief in myself and the self-efficacy with a lot of the principles that Professor Bandura talks about in his theory and studies.
Yeah. So I guess it's very important for someone to not just envision, but again, kind of have that constantly in the back of their mind, right? Like almost like that perseverance, even if you are faced with hardships, just to kind of keep at it and keep working towards that. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And be careful of what you tell yourself, the narrative that you tell yourself. We can't control the families that we were born into, but we can control who we allow to speak into our lives and the friends that we surround ourselves with. And so as you mature and you have the opportunity to let people speak into your life, I think that you really have to change who you allow in. And so if you are not from a family where you've had a lot of support and encouragement, perhaps you've been a part of a family that, talks down to you or tries to minimize your ability, you really have to stay the course. And so really learn and focus on what you believe your talents are. We all have them. And focus on making those larger, really enhance those talents and really keep that positive mindset along with the perseverance. Along with the dedication and the passion that goes with it, because what we tell ourselves plays a huge part in actually what we end up accomplishing.
Oh, I can totally relate to that. My own personal health journey, I've certainly told myself how to stay positive, and I know that matters a lot. And just to touch upon whatever you said right here, it's certainly important that one focuses on what is under one's control and not just dwell on the negatives. But again, what you said there, to surround oneself with the best possible company that one can and just focus on the good things is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we allow ourselves. I mentor a lot. I love mentoring individuals, and they'll tell me about their background. Well, my dad said, my dad used to tell me I was stupid, or my dad used to tell me, oh, you're just a girl, you'll never do much, and then that carries with them all throughout their life. They'll say, oh, well, whenever I get together with my family, I'm always the one that they kind of, tease and pick on, and I'm like, but you're in your 30s and 40s. You don't have to go anymore. You don't have to be a part of those family gatherings if that's the way that you're talked to. And so I think that even kind of flipping that, if our listeners here have a family themselves, really being mindful of the words that they speak into their own children or their own family members, realizing the impact that words have on each other.
Oh, absolutely. And two things that have absolutely stood out for me based on your success story is whatever you said, intentionality, and then making yourself indispensable and putting that extra effort and working hard. That's tremendous. And I think those are like very useful insights for the younger generation. And as a culminating fun aspect of this podcast, why don't you tell the listeners, Lisa, as to what happened in 2015, with that Jaguar?
Yes. I love to share that. So that first Jaguar that I saw XJ6, and that kind of stayed with me all through this. As soon as I had the opportunity in 2015, I went to the Jaguar dealer. Now, they don't make the XJ6 anymore, but they do make another beautiful version. And so I was able to get a dark blue, beautiful Jaguar. And it was really quite an emotional journey for me. I actually remember sitting in the car on the way, driving at home. I was by myself. My husband, drove me there to pick it up. And I cried on the way home because this is what, the world would say that someone like me wouldn't be able to accomplish. And so it was a beautiful story. My story continues, and it's an incredible car. So if you ever have the opportunity to take a ride in one, it's got more power than you can imagine. and the luxuries inside of it are phenomenal. So definitely recommend it.
Oh, wonderful. And I'm waiting for the day that I can take a ride with you in that car, Lisa. And
yes.
a phenomenal story. I think that definitely is something very inspiring, and for every youngster or for anyone listening, for that matter, that's a huge thing, to just dream about something, but then work hard to achieve it. That was a great honor and immense pleasure to have LZ on the show today. Look forward to many more interesting conversations in the future with you, Lisa.
This was a pleasure, and please invite me back anytime.
Oh, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before I sign off, folks, let me remind you to keep that feedback coming. Be sure to follow and subscribe. I'll be back again with another interesting guest and an interesting topic. See you then.